What is going on, everybody? So about 15 months ago on this channel, I made a video titled Best Pokemon Booster Boxes in 2024 to Invest in. I ranked all of the Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet booster boxes that were out up to that point. So I think it was up to Temporal Forces. And this is one of my most watched videos on the channel. It's got about 23,000 views. And I definitely had some hot takes in this video, which we'll look at. But I wanted to show you guys the ROI of all these boxes since I made this video up to present day, June 9th, 2025. And I think you guys will get some value out of this. Some things are actually quite interesting, some things aren't. If you can't see this list, I'll try and zoom in up here. So Evolving Skies was at the top. I then put Chilling Reign, Lost Origin, and Paldea Vault behind it. In the tier below that, I had Brilliant Stars, Fusion Strike, Astral Radiance, Temporal Forces, and Paradox Rift. Below that, I had Silver Tempest and SV Base. Below that, I had Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, Sword and Shield Base, and Obsidian Flames, which was probably a bit too low, which we'll get to here in a second. And then in the bottom tier, I had Battle Styles, which was probably a little bit too low, and then Rebel Clash. So, without further ado, I'll just show you guys the list over here. All of these sets, this is Evolving Skies at the top, Rebel Clash at the bottom, everything else is in the proper order. And you can see the ROIs here. Now, I will say, I got these prices from pokedata.io. The reason for this is that this is over a year's worth of data, and TCG Player, you can't go back further than a year, so I wouldn't have been able to grab the numbers from TCG Player. I guess in theory, I could have used the current price from TCG Player and then the 2024 number from pokedata.io, but I figured I'd just bring it in from the same place for consistency's sake. And one tip for you guys, if you do want to check historical data, you can add a booster box to your collection in Pokedata. And then once you go view it in your collection, you can see all of the data going all the way back. Normally, I think you have to pay for their gold tier or whatever to see the data. But if you just add it to your collection, you can do it for free. So that's kind of a little hack for you guys. Hopefully they don't end up changing that because I do end up using that a lot. But you can see here, Evolving Skies, this one was up 170.55% since March 25th, 2024. So not the highest, even though I ranked it the highest, but still a very respectable return over the past 15 months. I had Chilling Reign below it in second place, and this one's actually underperformed, only up 124.3%. A lot of the other alternate art sets have done better than this one, so this was way too high on the list looking back in hindsight. Lost Origin was actually the second best performing set in third place, but it was in third place, up 206.35%. Fusion Strike was the best performing one, up 253.41%. Now, I know some people are going to ask probably why I had it so low on this list. It was in sixth place. When I recorded this video, Fusion Strike had just made a move from $150 up to around $230. So it already made a 50% jump basically overnight. That was when it had sold out, I believe, on the Pokemon Center. It was getting quite scarce. People were buying it up. And that definitely played into where I put it in this ranking back then. But I don't think anyone could have predicted the past 15 months where Fusion Strike is now up at present day. So I'm not too mad that it's outperformed my list, at least a few of the boxes on the list. Paldea Vault, I put fairly high, and that was up 175.48%. I'm quite happy with that because I think back then, I made a lot of videos talking about Paldea Vault, and some people just weren't convinced that you should have been buying Paldea Vault back then around $90-ish, $100. So I'm glad that I bought a fair amount of Paldea Vault when I did. Brilliant Stars, surprisingly, up 170.64%. Astral Radiance, up 184.89%, actually outperforming some of these sets like Paldea and Brilliant Stars, Chilling Reign, and even Evolving Skies. Now, the obvious flop on this list was Obsidian Flames. I put it way down there at the bottom. I am an Obsidian Flames hater. I still am. I think that a lot of these other Esfera sets should be higher than it is right now. But even looking back at it, right, I would still go for Paldea Vault over Obsidian. You can see at the time, you could have bought Paldea Vault for $106. You could have bought Obsidian Flames for $102. They're basically the same price, right? A lot of stores had them probably listed at the same dollar amount. And your return is vastly different, 128.4% versus 175.5%. So that's a great example as to why I constantly say on this channel, you guys need to focus on buying the better sets, especially when they're the same price. Obviously, there's going to be a time and place to stop buying the more expensive sets. I still think though, with all that said, I still think Evolving Skies is probably going to outperform a lot of these sets on this list over the next 3 to 5 years in terms of ROI and annualized ROI. I really do. Since release, it's still over 100% annualized ROI. Even Team Up hasn't seen that level at this point. Team Up's at like 92% annualized ROI if we take like $6,200 market price. So I'm not saying you can't buy more expensive boxes, but when boxes are about the same price, like Paldea and Obsidian were at the time, you should be buying the better set. And right now, you have options between Surging Sparks and I don't know, like Paldea Evolved is more expensive. Obsidian's more expensive. A lot of these sets are more expensive than Surging, even though Surging's a much deeper set. That's why I would be buying Surging Sparks right now. I would not be buying Obsidian Flames. I would not be buying Paldea Evolved. I understand that Paldea Evolved, Obsidian are older sets. They're likely not going to get reprinted. And if they do, it'll probably get chewed through quite fast because I think investors at that point would believe that would be the last reprint for those sets. But that's really all I'm trying to say when I look at data like that. If a set is absolutely dominating another set and they're about the same price, go for the one that's deeper, stronger, that has better chase cards. You're not going to regret it in the long term. Now, the other thing that I got a lot of flack for in this video was putting Vivid Voltage higher than Battle Styles. I put Battle Styles in trash tier, and it, funnily enough, like no one really called me out on Obsidian Flames in the comments, but the most liked comment, which I think had 39 upvotes down here if I can find it, this guy over here, do you truly believe that Battle Styles, an actual alt art set, should be ranked higher than or below Vivid Voltage? And I said yes. And these were honestly pretty close. Like Battle Styles, 85%, Vivid Voltage was 56.16%. So yeah, I probably should have put Battle Styles higher. That was kind of a hot take, but a lot of my thought process at the time was that Vivid Voltage was an older set, and it was more difficult to find. I think both sets were still in stock at the Pokemon Center, but when you looked at the secondary market, you looked at stores carrying both boxes, there was a lot more Battle Styles in stock compared to Vivid Voltage. People were running sales on Battle Styles all the time. And I think when you just looked at like the value of the top chase cards, they were actually fairly close. Either way, it's not a huge deal. I got a couple wrong, but for the most part, I feel pretty confident with this list. And this is why, again, this is why I always say invest in the better sets. I'm going to keep beating a dead horse because you can see here on this list, even though some things are out of whack, like Fusion Strike was in 6th place, even though it was the best performing one. Lost Origin was in 3rd, even though it should have been in 2nd. Evolving Skies was a bit too high. Chilling Reign was obviously a bit higher than it should have been. It didn't take a genius to say, hey, these sets are a lot better than the early Sword and Shield sets, and these sets are a lot better than the early Scarlet and Violet sets that we're getting, bar maybe Paldea Evolved, which at the time was a pretty decent set. It was quite deep. I compared it to Brilliant Stars, and ironically, these are very close in ROI over the past 15 months. And if you would have just went heavier into those sets, you would have made a lot more money than if you just diversified into every single set. And honestly, even if you buy every single release, which I think you should do, again, schmuck insurance, you don't want to miss out on something like Twilight Masquerade. You never know when something's going to pop off. Like an Astral Radiance that's outperformed a lot of these sets over the past 15 months. You can buy a little bit of everything, but at a certain point, it becomes obvious which sets are better. And if there are opportunities in the market where prices are quite similar, but one set is dominating another set, that's a good opportunity to shed some dead weight and put that into a product that's probably going to perform better in the long run. And right now, you have opportunities. Again, I brought up the Surgeon example. You should be buying that over Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolved right now. I think that's probably a good play. Even like Twilight Masquerade, those are pretty close though. Some other ones too, like Paldea Evolved, Temporal Forces. I'd be going for Surging over all of those at this point. But also Prismatic Evolutions, those ETBs are down to like $95, I think currently. I would much rather buy that at this point than buy 151 ETBs, than buy Paldean Fates ETBs. I know they're more expensive than Shrouded Fable, but I would still rather buy Prismatic Evolutions ETBs at $95 than Shrouded Fable at like $55. I think those will outperform even over the next 3 to 5 years compared to Shrouded. So really all I'm trying to do in this video is show you guys that in the long run, the better sets perform the best. But if you want to just diversify into everything, that's absolutely fine too. That's the safer way to go about things. It's the easier way to go about it. You don't have to worry about spending a lot of time diving deep into every set. And even if you buy something like Rebel Clash, it's probably going to balance out with a Fusion Strike in the long run anyway, so it's not going to be a big deal. But you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Should I do another video like this in the future? I did one back in, I think, December late December, early January, something like that. But there's more boxes out now. Markets have definitely started to shift. Prices on Prismatic are coming down. 151's going up. Crown Zenith popped off. So I'm sure that I would change things just based on how I view it. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like, share it with a friend. I hope you all have a great week. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.